Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health here on YouTube. I'm your host, Todd Rennebaum, suicide attempt survivor and substance abuser in recovery. I screwed that up, but that's what I am. Got another really great guest this week. Her name is Tara Audibert, and she is an animator, and she's also very animated. She has created a new full-length feature film in her indigenous language, and it's about mental health. If you want it to be, you'll see. But anyway, she's amazing, and this episode's amazing, and I hope you enjoy. So without further ado, I give you Tara.
Like it's part of, having anxiety. I think it has all these, of course, there's all the things that come with it, like that are, bad. You have panic attacks and just, the anxiety, the feelings and all of these things. But with that comes certain superpowers that allow you to be really, really good at improv and really, really funny because you're very quick to think of things usually. And usually you can think of the worst case scenario, and that's where you want to go, is to these extremes. And, and the truth is funny. So things that have happened to you that are truthful. And that was one of the things that I taught right off the bat. And I was teaching it from the Truth in Comedy. It's like the Toronto, Second City Improv. So there's a book. And so I read the book, and, I've been doing part of doing animation when you go to school, like you have to do acting and improv and things like that. And it was just part of what I had been doing all along. And I heard about this improv for anxiety that was happening in Toronto. And this guy he was like, I had anxiety, and, my sister forced me to go into this class, and then I really liked it. And then he ended up teaching it. And I was like, oh, geez, it'd be so cool if there was someone teaching improv here. Like, I could go do that, and it could help with my anxiety, and it'd be really cool. And I'm like, oh, how come, why wouldn't somebody do that? And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I could do that. I guess I'm the person that'll do that. And I got together with my friend Mandy, and, we were always joking around and stuff. And I just said, here's the rules, and all you have to do is say yes. And, I think that, it just made it really easy when you have these kind of rules, or, set these scenarios up, and it allows you to also have those moments in real life where you're like, oh my God, this could just be me saying yes, and instead of no, but, or whatever, and helps you to, use that improv. Also, when people are just being whatever to you and just being negative, why can't you just say yes, and it just, it turns out to be funny a lot of times when you agree. You don't have to do it or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that. I've always wanted to do improv. I was a bit of a theater nerd in high school, and people thought I was witty and fast with, cracking one-liners and jokes and stuff.
You're doing improv right now for a podcast. This is improv.
I guess, yeah.
It's all improvised, unscripted. So.
Yeah. And I'm very good at, okay, this is a kind of a dumb brag maybe, but pushing the line. So like you said, you can always go to the worst case scenario. So when you're having dark humor with your friends, it's it always ends with me, because no one can top that. They're like, there's a line here, and Todd is really on it. It's like, I
win. You just got to get with other people with anxiety, and they'll be like, yeah, that's hilarious. We know, we understand. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. But I did see actually my brother passed along article I saw in, I think it was CBC. That's where I get most of my news, about you, and you're an animator, and you're writing and directing, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I wrote, directed, I'm producing, cleaning the toilets, every little thing. And I'm working with a small crew in New Brunswick, as well as across Canada, and, globally as well, in the Philippines right now, and, in the UK. So, I've been doing animation for about 25 years. I'm doing this feature film. It's the first feature film in the Wolastoqey language that's animated. Um, and it's, going to be about, I guess that's why I'm here. It's about mental health. And it's about a fox and a demon. It's called Guaxos Naga Wahantusis, which is the fox and the tiny demon. And it's a story that's about this fox who's, kind of running away from her problems. And she runs into this dark forest, which I associate with being depression. And she kind of meets this tiny demon who just kind of vexes her, like tries to, eat all her food, like makes a mess of her camp. And, she's just trying to survive within depression, within the dark forest. And he's just, making her life horrible. And it's about living with depression while you also maybe have to live with someone else who has depression that can kind of compound that. And for me, it's like, directly related to Indigenous people and the residential school system. And then, this second and third generation of Indigenous people who are still being affected by that because of your parents or because of your grandparents and that passed down trauma. And, that you still are living with someone who has, CPTSD, and what's that doing to you? And if you have any, mental illness, like it's just compounded and you can't leave. And I wanted to kind of explore that in a way that, that's not directly in the film, but that children could understand this and adults can understand it. Anybody can understand it. Coming from an Indigenous point of view. But the more people that I talk to about the film and, even the people working on the film, they're like, oh yes, this is like a very relatable experience, like, for myself. And, it's not just an Indigenous, state. So I think that's something that's very interesting to me in terms of reconciliation, because it's something that we share, that many people share.
Yeah, nice. Sorry, I was distracted for a second. So I have ADHD. I have to write down everything for every question I'm thinking up. I have to write it down, and then
I don't, yeah, no, I am the
my
same. Yeah.
favorite pen blew up.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
okay. My favorite
That's
pen
the
just
worst.
exploded in my hand. So
The
now
worst
I'm
possible time.
I'm grieving as I'm trying to also listen
Oh,
while I'm also trying to write down my next question.
oh, poor Red.
But
Poor Red.
yeah. Uh, you said the little demon could be, like when you're living with other people or a spouse or a sibling or whatever. But uh, I almost took it when I was reading the article about the movie. Is it could also be like a comorbidity, like another. It could be you are living in the dark forest of depression, and the little demon could also be that negative internal dialogue. Could be anxiety. It could be generational trauma. Was that kind of
Absolutely.
was that kind of your, I don't know, your intent as well?
I think that I hope that people, when they watch the film, that they're going to take away many things that resonate within themselves. And I've left it very open. It's not like I'm not saying like this is about mental health and this dark forest is depression and this, and the little tiny demon means this. So I'm hoping that when people watch it, that they're just going to get their own emotions and have their own feelings about it. And, just like that, like my intention was that it's, living like and in the end, that the tiny demon is his own kind of entity. So he's not necessarily a part of Fox, but there's definitely that idea. Why, of course, that you have these different aspects that are coming in, and what are their anthropomorphic. What does that look like? Yeah, absolutely. Like, why couldn't the tiny demon also represent those parts? Like, now I'm in depression, like I not only do I have ADHD, but now I have depression, and that's something that's added on to already a difficult uh you know the difficulties that I'm already having, kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. And really, I try to tell my stories in a way that even the children can understand it. Like they're gonna get it, like, okay, this guy's he's bothering her, and it's not good. But eventually, she has to learn to kind of live with him, I guess. And and how can they figure that out? And, in the end, that they are essentially friends, and what does that look like? It's
It's very
different.
Star Wars. The demon is his father.
Yes. Yes. So there's a lot of layers to it. The demon himself has his own demon. So every night he's disappearing, and she's kind of like wondering what happens to him. Like, he's gone, and, where does he go? And she follows him one night and sees that he's, kind of jumping off this cliff. And she's like, why is he jumping off a cliff? Like, that's crazy. So she tries to save him and, jumps after him, and finds out that every night he's taken and dives into hell, his own hell, and he has his own demons that he has to deal with. And, maybe that's why he's, a little demon himself, is that he has his own demons that he's dealing with, passing that on to her, kind of directly.
So I'm horrible. Like I think Indigenous languages are amazing. I cannot pronounce words for the life of me. So I'm not even going to try.
Good. And all that.
But the language
all
that
I
it's
can
in.
ask is that we try, and even I myself, I had to practice quite a bit for sure. So like
just pronouncing some of the word. Oh, because you're voicing the fox.
No, actually, my aunt. It's all in Wolastoqey, so it's like here in New Brunswick we have the Wolastoqey is actually the river. The St. John River is called the Wolastoqey, and we're the Wolastoqey people. Yeah. So there's a bunch of and so it's like not even just one word to describe it. So Wolastoqey is the language. Wolastoqey means the people. And then there's like, all these different words, but I'm hoping that, through the, something like this, watching films, that's how you learn how to say these words. Like, there's so many different words that, like, we learn to say from watching anime or, Japanese, things, and how to say these words now. And it's like, why do I know how to say those words? Well, because I've watched them. And I think that's an important part for me with the language, as well as like watching. You need something to watch. It can't just be like, here's a textbook and you're going to learn a language. That's not going to happen. So yes, you have to be around the language, and you also have to have resources that you can like listen to and hear the language, and so that you're going to be able to repeat that and know how to say those things, right? Otherwise you're just like trying to read it. It's crazy. So with Wolastoqey specifically, B's are pronounced as P's, like P's are B's. So there's no B letter. So if you see a P, it's like a B sound. And if you see a Q or a K, so like in my phone, it's guaxus, means fox. But it starts with a Q, but it has like a gua at the beginning. So I'm hoping, they're going to say guaxos, guaxos, guaxos. So many times in the film, you're going to know how to say fox. And, just like Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Why do I know more
right.
Spanish than I can speak Indigenous, like, than I can speak Wolastoqey? Because I watched Sesame Street growing up.
Right. Huh. And actually, what is there a treaty number for New Brunswick?
I'm sure there is. I think we're actually under, it's not a number, it's called the Friendship, Peace and Friendship Treaty here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on Treaty 4 land, and I know that the numbers get higher as you go west because, of course, people moved west, further and further west. But so I wasn't sure. I'm not. I guess I don't know where Treaty number 1 would be.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the treaty numbers myself. I don't really know.
I used to work in theater. I was the carpenter, but still I was in theater, so I was around lots of theater people. And where am I going with this? Holy shit! I forgot my own story in the middle of it.
That's all good.
Fuck. I was so excited.
You made me think about something about theater. I was also in theater when I was in school, and that may have been what led or helped me a lot, I guess, in becoming an animator for sure. I remember taking theater arts as like a like, it's an easy class or whatever. It's not easy at the end. You had to do this soliloquy, memorize a bunch of stuff. And
Oh
I
God. I
remember
can't remember my own story, let alone someone
yeah,
else's.
oh my God. So I spent a lot of time, memorized it all, went in and, you had to do it in front of all the parents of all the kids and like all the students in the class too. And it was like, oh my God. So the soliloquy that I had, I guess this is kind of fun, like, well, it's sad and funny, I don't know, but it was about this person who had survived cancer. And I went and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to wear like a rag
Bald
around my
cap?
head, like,
Oh, okay.
but I still had hair coming out anyways. So I gave the soliloquy and it was about like, surviving and stuff. And then in the end, a bunch of women came up to me and they're like, "We're so sorry you went through that." I'm like, "That was acting. That was acting. Like, I didn't go through that at all. I have been through nothing. I'm a teenager. Like, this is crazy." But
Wow.
yeah.
You must have got a good grade.
So I think that really helped me to, kind of get into the entertainment industry, even though I have no desire to be an actor or in front of the camera in any way. But I get to, tell my stories. And I am in this, I'm not telling the story because it's in Wolastoqey. I got my great aunt. She's one of the last speakers in the language, fluent speakers. There's less than 100 fluent speakers. And when I learned about that, I was like, that's crazy. So it must be mostly my family, like basically my family. So I knew, I know my aunt was very fluent, and my great grandfather, he received Peter Paul, he received the Order of Canada for, having a dictionary for the language. So she, even though being fluent, used his dictionary to help in translating the film. So, and then she voiced she's kind of like the narrator of the film.
Interesting. I do remember my story. I used to work in theater. Back to that. And, and the theater I worked in Regina, they did a play called "Making Treaty 4," and it was Indigenous screenwriters and actors and it was really great. And a friend of mine, he portrayed his name's Wendigo, which is like a Cree demon.
Mhm.
And he said that it was actually really, it's very touchy thing playing something in that culture that's especially negative, because then, negative things can happen. And every night they would have to smudge and do all the, they would do a lot of ceremony and stuff to kind of, you know, yeah, to make it. So he would, I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Holy Greg, I should be
Spiritually,
smudging. I should be smudging a lot more, I think.
I was just gonna ask, as with your Indigenous backgrounds and your writing about a demon, one of the like it,
Yeah.
is
Well,
it
you're
is
not
it something?
supposed to. One of the things is, one of the stories is that you're not supposed to talk about Wahant. So Wahant is the devil. Wahantusis is not, it's not even really necessarily a thing, I guess, because there's just in indigenous culture, I mean, it is brought on by, Christian culture that there's this devil or whatever, but there's just one devil. He's the devil. He may take different forms, but is just the devil. He may come as a man. He may look like some sort of beast, or many different forms, but it's always just the devil. So one of the things is that you're not supposed to talk about the devil at night because that means you're inviting him into your home.
So don't watch
So
cartoon at night.
I guess I'm gonna have to make sure that the premieres during the day.
But
I hope I'm
you
just
haven't
like
felt.
maybe getting around it because it's Wahantusis. So Wahant is the devil, and then if you have like cis on the end of something, it means small. So if like guaxos means fox, but if I wanted to say small fox, I would say guaxosis for tiny. So Wahantusis is a tiny demon, but it's not really like there's not really such a thing. I
Okay,
guess in the language. So my aunt helped
that
me kind of make that up. Yeah.
okay. Well, that's fair then. So then it's all good. There's no.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm like, it's not really the devil, but I mean, based on what I just told you, like Wahant is just Wahant. Like the devil is the devil is the devil. So,
Gotcha. And he doesn't make an appearance in the movie.
well, no, 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 no.
Right.
Yeah, just
Okay.
Wahantus
Okay.
is.
I
Though
think
I mean,
you're
there
safe.
is several little demons, I guess, in the movie. Mhm.
I think you're safe. I think you're
Yeah,
safe. But that's
hope
not
so.
something you worried about or had heavy
I
energy
did
about or
it
anything.
until now. I'll have to
Sorry.
I'll have to smudge my computer.
Your headphones. Or no,
Oh
you're not wearing
god.
headphones. Huh. So as because there are such heavy subject matter in indigenous cultures in North America because of all the things
Mm,
that happen.
mhm.
Was it a bit of a tightrope walk to like? Well, I guess I don't know, not to like downplay it or make it fluffy, but also make it kind of relatable ish. Yeah, you know what I'm
Well,
asking?
I think I always try to make stories that are stories that I want to listen to first or that I want to tell
Mm,
first. And then I
hmm.
don't mind watching because in the end, I end up watching this stuff like hundreds of times. So if it's not something that I like, and if I just made it just for kids and it was all cutesy and whatever, like it would give me more mental health problems because I have to go through and keep watching this over and over. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a lot. So I want to make sure that's something that I would want to watch, that a parent would want to watch. Like, if you have kids and you end up watching that stuff too. So when I was growing up, the films that I watched, I'm like, when you think back now, would you show that to children? I don't know if they would watch those things now. Like, um, there was like The Secret of Nim, and it was about these like lab rats who were tested on, and then they escaped. And it's really is based on the actual like National Mental Health Association. What does NIM stand for? National something, but it's for National Institute for Mental Health is what NIM is. And this is a cartoon, and it was about them doing these testing on the lab rats, and then the rats became really super smart, and they kind of went underground and had this cool, uh, you know. Magical life, fantasy life, I guess, under there, and they could talk and all that stuff. And but it was scary. There was like this movie called Watership Down that was yet again about these rabbits that were suffering from rabies.
Oh,
um
I was gonna say
and it was
gout.
very graphic, and there was rabbits killing rabbits, and this was a cartoon. I watched that when I was like 11. And another one of my favorites is The Last Unicorn. And like this is it's about this unicorn, and they've killed all the unicorns, and she's the last of the unicorn, and there's like a huge giant bull that's killing them all and chasing her. And just all of these things that I found to be very I can still watch them now, and I can still appreciate them because they have messages that are for every single human. It doesn't have to do with boys, girls, or age. It's like it's about human
Or
messages
culture.
or culture. Yeah, like everyone should be able to get something out of it. So even for me, like I'm telling this story, based on my own experiences, but also I want to tell it in a way that adults can enjoy it and children can still enjoy it too. That it's not way over their head, like what's going on. They get it. They can watch it and they understand, and they can say, okay, that's not right, or you know, um,
Like Star
you know,
Wars.
exactly. Yes, exactly. Exactly. When you have good story, it's gonna be good for all ages. Like good story is good story, and that's what I want to have is good story. And I'm coming from a background of being told these indigenous stories all my life. And I could just come from like a family of storytellers. Everybody just telling stories all the time. And I guess from that you learn this is a good story because you want to hear it again. And each time, too, that it's told in a different way that is for the audience, whoever the audience is, that's how they're going to tell that story. So I try to tell this story in a way that it's hopefully can be retold in an easy way as well too, and then I can start creating like modern legends. So there's legends that have been told. I don't want to take, and a lot of them have been already animated, like I don't want to keep retelling these same stories. There's stories that are happening right now, and this is one of them that's not something that happened in the past. It's happening now, the residential schools, and what is the legend that goes with that, that's the kind of thing that I want to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good answer.
Thank you.
You get a B. B's pretty good for me. I'm a hard grader. Well, and I like that. It's so it's you're taking kind of maybe some indigenous traumas and making it relatable for everyone, but they're also adding like the loss of the language, which was, I mean, it's massive. Like you said, there's only your family left really that's speaking it, and so but it's still relatable. It's that's good. It's multifaceted.
Yes. Yeah. And I hope, that's one of the things that I like about cartoons is, even just thinking about all of these things that have inspired me and my cartoon making are films that I watched when I was a kid. So that's like, 40 years ago. And they still stand the test of time. Like I can still watch these things. Whereas, some films, like we just watched Star Trek, the very first movie last night. And like, I don't think I'd ever watch that thing. And it is bad. That's some bad storytelling. Like just bad. I can't even I love all this. I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars. But that movie is just bad. It's not even like laughably bad. You're just like, oh my God,
it's not even campy.
How
it's just
long
bad.
Is this can?
Well, yeah. There's even moments like that in The Lord of the Rings. It's like, this is epic. And then you come along one scene where it's like, oh my God, this is never ending. Okay, Frodo's seeing his buddy again. He's in the bed, and it's like, come on. Anyway, well, I appreciate that you put that much thought into it.
Yes.
And you're not trying to please anyone. You're just trying to make something that you would like.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm the one that's going to watch it the most, I think.
Right?
Watch it a few hundred times. So it should be something that I like. And I can honestly say that I've, up to this point, it's still one of the tests, I guess, for me. It's like it still makes me cry in the parts that are supposed to, and it still makes me laugh in the parts that I'm supposed to, and that's all I can ask. So if if it's still doing it for me, I'm hoping that it'll still do it for other people as well.
And if nothing else, you're entertaining yourself.
Yeah, if nothing else, I'm crying, I'm laughing. It's fine.
I can kind of relate. I wrote a kid's book called Sometimes Daddy Cries.
Yeah, I saw that. That's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. And same thing is like, when you're the one creating it, it's like, it took me 4 years to make because I was like, I would get discouraged and then I'd come back. Right. So it's a very long process. You are going to read it more than anyone else on earth. So you better enjoy it. But yeah, every once in a while, I get a little choked up too. And at the end, I was like, oh my God. This is so weird. I'm making myself cry. But
well, that's what the world needs is people to be sharing their genuine emotions, not sharing, this is what I think a kid would like. Like, you don't know what the hell a kid would like. You know what you would have liked when you were a kid.
That was a hillbilly voice. You think hillbillies know what kids like? They like working in the coal mine.
I know what kids like. Let me write a book about this. Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. You were making a point.
Oh God, yeah. I can't remember what I was
gonna say. You're staying true to yourself and what you would like. You're not trying to make something for someone else. Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I know very little about Eastern indigenous cultures because I'm from the West. So, I'm it's kind of it's hard to avoid around here. Not that I want to, but oh God, and it's good. It is good.
Culture around you. Get culture around you. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and especially because of lately, like they're finding these mass graves and all these things. And oh God, I just talked to a woman. Oh God, so we're having a good time talking about cartoons and stuff. But I talked to a lady just last week. Oh, it's a heartbreaking story. But anyway, uh, is there is it similar kind of mental health issues, uh, the indigenous people in the East as it is
Yes,
in
it's
the middle?
exactly the same. Like our last
Yeah.
residential school closed here in like 1989, and like all I could keep thinking about is that this could have been, that's when I was in grade 9. Like I could have been in a residential school. My mom's family is the same thing. Like I don't have any direct relatives that were in residential school. They were in Indian day school though, and that's kind of you were allowed to go home at night, so you went there, but you're still like, it was still run by the nuns, and they still beat kids. It was the same deal. It's just you got to go home at night, kind of thing. Um, so it's like different levels of you know things that you're suffering, and that's still all passed down. And I hear a lot of times like, well, like maybe I wasn't the one, I didn't get beat because I was being a good kid or whatever in the Indian day schools, but you still watched as your classmates were beat in front of you, and like that's got to be also traumatic. And you're living in fear in a setting where you're supposed to be learning things. Like they weren't allowed to speak their language. Like you had to speak
Hmm.
English, and that's mainly what you get punished for is trying is speaking in molested way, speaking in Maliseet. Like um, a lot of these things. I remember hearing about a lot of these things because they all knew, like everybody knew, there's people on the reserve that went, and they were just scared that something was going to happen because if it was your mom, something happened to your mom, like if your mom left your dad, if your mom died, or you didn't have a mom, like dads weren't allowed to take care of you because obviously men are not can't capable, according to the government, of taking care of children. So they would take them away and you'd go to residential school. So I know stories about one guy that came back, and to this day, like he's in his 60s, and he wears multiple layers of clothing and belts and a bunch of clothing because that's what he did when he was there, so that the priest wouldn't be able to get to him as quickly and get him undressed because he's wearing all these clothes. So he's like, that's how he, got around it, and all these little things. And
The Canadian Centre for Addictions believes in being the home away from home you need to begin healing. From private rooms, residential treatments, and caring support, their luxury rehab centers offer the best inpatient care. Here, you decide how much you would like to finance, whether it's the entire amount for treatment or just a portion, and what repayment terms fit your needs, from 6 months to 6 years. 5-Star Care helps our residents learn how to lead 5-star quality lives. To learn more, please call today.
I just remember hearing about it when I was little, and knowing about it, but it wasn't until I was like, I guess it was about like 20 years ago, and I did a comic that's called oh my god.
What's the thing you made called?
Lost, yeah, lost innocence. Sometimes I literally
Hmm.
have to Google myself to figure out some of the stuff I made. I don't remember.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, like I do something, and then it's one time I'm like, oh my god, I did do that. I totally forgot. My friend was like, did you ever write anything? I'm like, I don't think so. I've written 2 books, but like,
Do you have children?
and a
No.
comic, yeah. Maybe somewhere in the world I can. Oh my god. Sorry I left you someplace. Sorry I left you in Disneyland.
What's for
Oh,
supper,
man,
Mom? Oh God.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
I did this comic called Lost Innocence with my friend Brandon Mitchell. He sent me this script, and he's like, would you want to illustrate this? So this is how I got into doing comics. I was working in animation, and I was teaching animation at the time, and he sent that to me, and I was like, this is crazy, and it made me cry, and I was like, did you just make this up? Like, this is crazy. And he was like, no, I didn't make this up. Like, this is really what happened in the residential school system. And like, it's a fictitious story about like the characters aren't real people in it that he didn't write about their story. He just kind of amalgamated some stories, but the story is true. Like, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So then I, started watching documentaries. This is back in like 2005, maybe. And at that time I was like, this happened, this was happening until 1989. Like, this is crazy. Like, the way they were talking about it, I felt like it's in the past. And, and I think that's what a
Get
lot of
over it.
people think as well too. Like, yeah, that was like, that just happened and whatever. Like, the nuns were beating everybody and the priests were, messing around with
Diddling.
everybody. Like, that's just how it was, I guess. But it's like, no, this continued to happen. And even past, and I think the last residential school only closed in like 1993. So like that's
97.
97, like that's crazy. And
It was in
then, it's
Saskatchewan,
just,
not far from here.
so we knew about all of these things. And then I'm shocked. And then they're trying to get this comic to be published. And they had a really hard time because they're like, no, it's too graphic. And like, it literally is not graphic enough in my eyes, but it is what it is. And I think these stories, like, they need to be told and they need to be shared, and all these experiences that people are having, that's how we're gonna know. But at the same time, there's a lot of law, like there court cases are going on for settlements because of it. But a lot of it is like, just, so they're trying to fix things, but it's just bringing up more trauma because now everybody has to write out every single little thing that happened to you. And do you have proof? And will someone else attest to this? And blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, if you can't have proof, you apply for the more money because because certain things happen to you. Like, it's basically like a level, like, how abused were you? Were you this abused? Were you that abused?
And then
Okay,
prove
that's
it.
this much money. This much money. Okay, were you this abused? That's much money. But it's like a game show because it's like, if you're this abused and you apply but there's not enough evidence, you get nothing. They're like saying, oh, there's an inordinate amount of people that are applying for the lowest amount because I guess nothing happened. Like, so it's just, it's like all these things that are meant to help and to be towards reconciliation, I would presume, because they're trying to give people money. But it's like, if you were there, you're abused. You shouldn't have to prove anything. If your name's on a list somewhere that you were there, then you shouldn't. There shouldn't really be anything to prove because that shit was happening, daily on the regs. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. That makes sense to me, what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on your side is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just weird. People want to share their stories, and then at the same time, it's like, where's the proof and this and that? Like, what proof would I have when I'm a child? Like, that's just also seems crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
What
a
do they
lot.
call?
It's a lot.
What do they say when a victim isn't believed in, like a rape case or something? It's like victim shaming.
Yeah,
It's
they're
almost,
definitely victim shaming. A lot of victim shaming
yeah.
going on for this. Like, I can't even imagine.
Hmm.
And even try to think
So
about it, like, so long ago. How am I supposed to remember that? I can't remember what I ate last week. Like, God, I mean, I
well,
would remember certain things, but like the dates, the locations, who else was there? Can they confirm it? Like,
yeah. Even in my own healing journey, like it took me like 10 years of like not, like I had to quit drinking and then I had to like do all these other things, and then it's just been within the last year I'm dealing with some deeper traumas because I couldn't even touch them yet. Like I didn't even consider them
yeah.
traumas until I was like healed enough to go, oh shit, I should probably work on this too. So just to have a government form shoved in your face and like, here, fill this out
Yeah,
with your
write it
traumas.
down, everything. What? Oh God. I just be like, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Mm.
feel the same. It's horrible. Like, that's the things that people, you know, everybody with mental health has to go through just to try to get some sort of relief.
Hmm.
And I guess that's what, going back to my film, that's kind of what I wanted to express, even if kids are watching, because I can't imagine being a child. You're not going to understand any of this. Like, why is mommy or daddy not, doesn't love me the way that the mummies and daddies on sitcoms do? Like, why are they hugging their children and I don't get hugs, or, all the things that I don't get because my parents are, suffering themselves and trying to just survive themselves. And I guess I'm hoping that, it's sad, but I hope that kids could watch this film and like see, okay, that, there is this, but that there is, in the end, there is light at the end of the tunnel, I guess. You'll get to leave someday. You will get to leave and you'll get to decide what your life is on your own, outside of that. And how will you shape your life so that you're going to, start your own healing. Like you're not responsible for them. You're not responsible for their healing. They're responsible for their own healing. And I think a lot of times it gets put on the kids a lot that I got to help mommy or I got to help daddy, or it's my responsibility to be there to listen to their problems, or even it's my responsibility to do things around the house, like to be a little adult, and or even have to watch my brother and sister, things like that. And it's hard to say that might be your life now, but eventually you will get to have your own life. You will get to have your own life, and it may be years down the line, but it is there, and not to think that that's the only thing that there is.
Oh, shit. I forgot to hit record.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding. I was waiting for you to give this long, beautiful answer and then just be a smart ass.
It's no worries. You can ask me again. I'll give you another one. A totally different, long, beautiful answer. It's not that at all.
It's like storytelling. It's the same, but a little different for the audience. Yeah. So what I've learned. Well, I've learned quite a bit, but what are the things? Well, my original question was how is there any difference between East Coast Indigenous people and West Coast Indigenous problems? And it sounds no. Yeah, it's a hard no. It's
I
pretty
think
much
it's
the
right
same.
across Turtle Island. It's the same.
Yeah.
Through me doing my films, and I also do children's book illustration, comics. I get to travel around a lot and speak to a lot of different people and meet tons of different Indigenous people from all across Canada and in the States. And it's the same. It's the same in the States as well.
Well, they didn't have
it wasn't residential
schools, but it was more like pretty much genocide, really.
Yes. Yeah.
Shit. I didn't write it down and my brain farted again. Jesus.
That's how it works. That's how come you have a podcast, because you're creative. Like the ADHD mind is, it's not meant for society that we live in. That's the problem. It's not us. The problem's not us. The problem is society.
Right,
our
man.
brains are meant for creativity. Yeah. That's why you have a podcast that you can keep doing. That's why you have a children's book that you can keep working on.
Society's the problem, man. Not me, man. Anyway. Oh God, yeah. That's part of my traumas is just living in society with the brain I have. And then the internal dialogue that comes with the other judgments from people. And like I was only diagnosed like a year ago, so
okay.
Yeah, it's been long. Yeah.
Well, plenty to learn. I highly recommend. There's a book called I'm not lazy, crazy, or stupid. You can probably find it actually online. Buy it to whoever wrote it. Like, that's awesome. You'll probably find a PDF online to read. And I'll be very truthful that I didn't finish reading it because I have ADHD, but the half that I did read was really very helpful to me in just accepting the way that I am, and that, hey, that's the way they am. And if it wasn't for my ADHD, I wouldn't be doing these creative things. I wouldn't be able to, work on a film. I wouldn't be able to also do, children's books and do comics and jump from here to there when I'm actually just fulfilling my need to,
create.
multitasking.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
But for
It's
me, I had very, with fitting in with my ADHD. I worked for as a teacher at the uh, teaching animation for a long time, and I just really could not work within that system. And it led to me just starting my own company, Moxie Fox Studio, and doing short films, and doing all these little things, getting little jobs on the side, doing illustrating books and doing different things like that, because I just couldn't take working, getting up in the morning, having a shower, eating breakfast, then going to work, dressing in clothes and pants and
dressing
things
in
like that.
clothes. Hey, I'm in my
I was
pajamas.
like, all of these things. So one of the great things about ADHD is, and I would like, I would hedge, some bets on this, that the majority of people that are entrepreneurs have ADHD. If they're good entrepreneurs, if they're bad entrepreneurs, they may not have ADHD, and that might be why. Because there's so many things that you have to do that I don't know how a neurotypical person would be able to handle it mentally, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've done a couple episodes about ADHD with professionals who also have ADHD, but yeah, that's one of the things I've discussed is that so I
really help ourselves. Yeah.
exactly.
No one else
uh
can help us. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but it's true. A large number of ADHD people are entrepreneurs because it's like, oh God, I can't do this in this way. I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
off, and this is my third time being like self um, um, employed. So
Yeah, that's good. And you know
yeah,
what? That's the other thing, is people think that this, I don't know who thinks that this is the epitome of whatever, working at some job for 40 years straight. I was there for 40 years. Who gives a shit if you weren't having fun and you didn't like it? You just did your time. Like, you might as well be like, I was in prison for 40 years. Like, the place I worked, there was people that had countdowns to retirement, like days,
yeah.
like, but it
Oh, I
was
know.
years away, and they're like, it's this many thousands of days or whatever. I'm like, stop telling me that, because mine is longer than that, I guess. So I don't want to hear about that. Like, holy crap.
Oh, I know.
Anyways, it gave me depression, very bad depression. And it was to the point where, I went in and I was like, this is what I need to be able to work here. And one of the things was to be able to work from home once. This was before COVID. It was like to be able to work home one day a week, so I could actually do my stuff without people, because I just chat to people. It's fun. They also wanted to chat to me, and it was just like, oh my god, like I can't get any work done. But if I can just be at home for one day, and they didn't want to do that, and I was like, oh, you know what? Then I'll just be at home all the days. Fuck this. So
Yeah, I know. I know. I feel the
start
same
my own
way.
thing. And then
And,
after that, like shortly after, was when COVID happened. Now everybody can work from home.
yeah,
Like,
and everybody's been diagnosed now.
yeah,
But I mean, for me, like to work 8 hours straight, that's a fucking nightmare. I can work 12 hours a day, but I can't do them in a row. It's like I will work 3 hours, stop, have a nap, have a snack, go for a walk, piss around, play on my
like
phone, do
like a
another two
human
hours.
should. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we're not
I might
factory
be up.
workers. That's
Right,
the
I
other
might be
thing.
up.
Yeah, get me going on the government here, but like, all of that stuff is just towards like, industrial revolution, that this 8 to 5 shit, that is crap. And anybody that can live
Ford
that way, I
created
don't know.
that.
Oh
Did you
my
know
God.
that?
Well, even worse, even worse. Like, we're not
Yeah.
making, we're not making Model T Fords here. I'm making art. And if I want to take a nap, naps are part of creative, like being creative. If you have a nap, your brain is actually able to process while you're sleeping the information that you got before that. So it's an important part of it. I consider naps part of my job. Like, there's so many things that I've changed about the way that I think, and that's helped me a lot with my process. Otherwise, I would really be going, like, I am already going a bit crazy, but I would not be able to do it, I don't think. So there's all these
Hmm.
things that I have to consider and think about in very different ways. And I hope other people too that are suffering from mental illnesses can see, why is this a thing? Like, I'm not trying to be like everything is positive. Like, no, I'm still suffering, but there's things that are positive about it, and I have to appreciate those things, because if I don't, I'm going to lose them. And I'll get lost in that dark forest. I'll just be in the dark forest forever, and I don't want to be in there forever. But I watched this thing. It was like depression. Like it's depression is a time of rest. So that's what happens in there. And it's what happens is that your body is forcing you to rest because you haven't rested, on your own. So it's going to say like, no, I'm forcing you to rest now. Now you can't do anything. So you want to get you don't want to get to that point. But when you're in that point, appreciate depression, I guess, in that it's your body telling you, slow the fuck down, stop. You didn't want to slow down before, so now you're going to stop. Sorry. And take that time to, for what it is. And if you're able to take time off of work, or if you're able to take time for yourself, you have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to end up, it's going to just progress. But I think if you can appreciate some of these things, like even my first film I wrote was about my dad had Alzheimer's. And, I was trying to think about that a lot in terms of like, why would someone have Alzheimer's? Like, what is the point of that? There's got to be some point to it. Like, it's horrible for everybody around you, but for the person themselves, maybe they're forgetting, they don't have to think about a time when they're, going to be passing away soon. And maybe that's good for themselves mentally. But the film that I wrote, I wanted to think about like, where are people with Alzheimer's, like when they're not, like people always say they're not here with us or they're not with us, but they're somewhere. Like there's somewhere. Where are they? And in my film, I thought, well, if you can't remember the present, my dad definitely could remember things, like a lot of things from the very, like a long time ago. And I thought that might be, why you get that, so that you can remember things that you've forgotten from a long, long time ago, possibly. And, that's to carry you into the next, whatever, spirit world, or the next, whatever happens at the end, or if nothing happens, like to help you to get to that place.
Help you with the transitioning.
Yeah. And because I know it's sad for everybody. It's sad for everybody around you. Is it sad for the person with Alzheimer's? They don't remember. They don't remember.
Yeah, right.
That's the truth. So it's very sad for everybody. Very sad for all of us. And, that's the sad part. But what's happening to them? Like, why? So anyways, I just wanted to do a film, and it's not like this film is about Alzheimer's. Same thing. Like my film's about a fox and an owl that fall in love. And, this story, and,
kinky,
yeah.
Hybrids.
It's kind of about, it's about my parents' story, because my dad was French American, actually. He became a Canadian citizen, but my mom was Indigenous. And when they got married, my mom, it was prior to Bill C-31 here, which if you were married to someone non-Indigenous, you became non-Indigenous. So my mom, by marrying my dad, was non-Indigenous anymore, so she didn't have her status. And it was like a weird reversal thing. Like if a white woman married or a non-Indigenous woman married a Indigenous man, she became Indigenous. So there were people, like there were women who were living on reserve who had divorced from these Indigenous men. They themselves were non-Indigenous, but they had status. Like that's how weird it was. So at that time, my mom had to like move off reserve. She's living with my dad. It was difficult, and her family disowned her because my father was older, and all of these things. And so I wanted to make this film about this fox and the owl, and they fall in love, but the families don't like it. And so that kids can understand that. And when kids watch it, they get it. They're like, how come they should just let them be in love? They should let them be in love. And it wasn't until I was born and my brother and sister were born, but I was born first, and then the family came back because I was the first grandchild. And so that kind of brought the families back to being like, okay, this is a real thing. It's not just like, like that kinky fox and an owl together. Like it's something that lasted many, many years. And, I think was a cool kind of modern legend, I guess, modern indigenous legend.
You pervert.
Yeah. In the end, at the end of the film, I'm like, well, it can't just be foxes and owls. So at the very end, I had a bunch of inner species.
Whoa, Dr. Moreau.
There was like, yeah. There was like, I can't remember all of them, but one of them I think was a skunk and a moose were together. Like, anyways, it's fun what you can do with animation.
Like Fritz the cat.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Fritz?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm not so sure that's kind of old school.
Yeah.
But,
we had to study that. We had to study that.
So one of the things that I liked about your cartoon or your upcoming movie, so Todd means little fox in, I don't know what language it means, but I was always told it means little fox, and so I've always had a little place in my heart for foxes. And then when I was reading the article and stuff, I was like, oh my God, it's kismet. I have to reach out and talk to Tara. So anyway,
that's cool.
But I'm a boy. I don't know if anyone else is gonna like this episode, but I'm having a blast. It's like as soon as we start, well, actually, I could tell I could just tell by the way you responded to my messages on Instagram. I'm like, oh God, we're gonna get along. I like her. It's like it's that weird neurodivergentness. I don't know what it is.
People will like it because they like to see people having fun.
I do let you go. Is there anything that I didn't ask or we didn't talk about that you wanted to make sure people knew? Whether it's a promotion thing or whether it's a
I guess the only thing is that we're going to have an upcoming Kickstarter campaign. So you can subscribe with your email at moxiefox.ca and you'd be able to get, like, once the campaign comes out, we get some cool and different things like posters, the film itself. You can watch some of my other films as rewards. But the coolest thing for me is I'm getting little 3D models of the characters printed. And you can kind of paint them yourself, which I think is very cool in terms of mental health and just having something to, I don't know, keep your mind occupied while you're being creative. I thought it went well with the theme of the film as well.
Be sure to subscribe and to like this video. You can listen on Apple Podcast and Spotify. This is Todd Rennebaum saying, make your beds and take your meds. Keep watching for more interviews with incredible people telling their stories of resilience and adversity with mental health and mental illness.